Welcome everyone, Rowdy here, and this will be part 2 of how to beat those annoying teams. And this one is based around those looping goblin teams. You know what goblins hate? Goblins hate the cold. At least that's what most people have found out. So anyways, if you would like to test any of these teams or teams of your own, I set on my alt account in global chat room 142. You can click on my alt account, go to my profile, and click fight, and you can test. This is pretty much a standard looping goblin team. They love to put Norbert's Turnip somewhere in 3 or 4, and they love to use Thief, Toad Squeezer, String Fiddler, King Gob Truffle, and Norbert's Turnip. Pretty standard looping goblin team. So let's take a look. This first one is a really weird team, and I kind of like it. It's different from any team I've ever seen. So I've had about a 85 to 90% win rate against these looping goblin teams, and that's across all 4 teams that I made to counter these gobos. And let's go ahead and just take a look at what I've got here. This is the new Goblin Giant, Smashed Mouth. He does have 25% skull reduction and silence the first enemy when I deal skull damage. Bleed too, but silence is the important part. And does damage to an enemy, knocks them to the back, drains 7 mana from all enemies below them, and gains an extra turn, as all goblins do. It's not a bad troop. Trickster does explode 18 green gems and switches the first and last enemies. So if you get lucky, yeah, well, you can't silence Toad Squeezer. He's immune to all status effects. So don't cast them until you've cast Trickster, and that'll put Norbert's Turnip up front, and you can hopefully get a skull on him and silence him. That helps quite a bit. Dancing Daggers does damage to all enemies and knocks 1 to 2 enemies from first to last position. If you don't have that, you could probably use Rope Dart. I did try it with Rope Dart. I didn't like it quite as much. This team, I think I made trying to confuse the AI, even though I know that's impossible, but it's kind of what it's meant to do. And Frost Feather does 42 damage to all enemies. If there's an ice storm, curse all enemies. There's not going to be an ice storm, but if he does die, he freezes all enemies except for Toad Squeezer. So let's take a look at this first team, and hopefully we don't lose, because that would be quite embarrassing, but it would also be, you know, a very rowdy thing that would happen. And I do try and look for purple first off, but since there's not, then I always look for green second. And we do not have a 4 match, so let's get Norbert's Turnip up front. And see, now he's silenced. That's just so nice. And we can drain some mana, of course. We didn't get to drain mana from String Fiddler because he's the one that got knocked to the back. And now we can just cast this again. He's silenced, so it doesn't matter. And basically that was just 2, whatchamacallit, oh, great mana. I'm having one of those mornings where my brain's not working so well. And I'm just going to keep casting things as they become available. And I would really like some purple here, but I will settle for green. And now, look at that. No mana. That's very nice. And we got that on the board. Might as well do that and get some more mana. This is not an overly fast team, but it does seem to work fairly well. And now's a good time to cast this. And not quite dead. Well, you're not going to do much. You've only got 2 troops left, so I'm not overly worried about this. But it's not an overly fast team. I do have a couple teams that are way faster. And we did lose Smashed Mouth. I'm thinking of the band, unfortunately. I'm sorry. And now we just gotta finish off some dirty bandits. I hope that's not a, I hope that's not a thing in Urban Dictionary. Dirty bandits. I just called them that just because. But if it is a thing, I'm sure somebody will let me know. They'll say, "Hey, you can't do that." So, anyways, that was Team 1. That took a little longer than I had hoped, but that's all right. Let's go to Team 2. And I will probably leave this team up on my alt account for people to test against for probably the end of the week at least. This one is more a team for newer players. 2 Gob Chompers who deal damage to an enemy. If the enemy is a goblin, deal double damage and a 50% chance to devour them, gain 5 life. Gotta have that 3rd trait. Starts battle with full mana. And Apophysis converts green to skulls, gives a little bit of life to the first enemy, starts with full mana. And Mountain Crusher. And Frost Mage again. And you really hope that one of your first 2 devour attempts works. Do not try to devour Toad Squeezer. Won't work. And you're frozen, but you're also the more dangerous of the troops. And it didn't work, but it does double damage, which is really nice. And it didn't work. So, do we have any green that we could match? We do not. So we'll just start trying to fill up the Gob Chompers again. And we got lucky that they did not want to start looping yet. But now we've got some green on the board, and since we're doing double damage, yeah, that's pretty nice against taking out these nasty gobos. And there we go. That team's actually faster than the first team, and it's just a simple anti-goblin team. In fact, you could probably run 3 Gob Chompers and not worry about Apophysis, but I'd prefer to use that. And here's our 3rd team. Pardon me. And this one, I'm using King Silenus up front, partly because he's immune to all status effects, so he cannot get silenced by String Fiddler. And he's also a wild folk, so he starts with 50% mana. And Queen Beatrix is also a wild folk, and we all know the true damage and 9 green and brown gems. Got 2 of those, Glaive of Many Goats. Does damage to an enemy, boosted by wild folk allies, and creates a mix of 6 green and yellow. We're looking for the green there, of course. And I do have Archmagus for the extra mana, which I will show you that. 2 bonus purple mana when matching purple. Yeah, I'm not matching that, but I still like Archmagus on this one. I'm kind of weird like that, but that's okay. So what am I looking for here? Pretty much blue or green. Get those queens going as soon as you can. And it's really nice with King Silenus, you get the 50% mana start, and now it's all about hoping you can out-loop them. And as I said, I've had about 80 to 90%, well, 85 to 90% win ratio with all these teams. Just like that. That's how you counter goblins. And we'll try out one last team. And another Frost Mage team. Life and Death. We all know what that does. Arachnian Weaver. True damage. Webs all enemies. Enemy dies. Explode 15 gems. Leprechaun our mana. And Possess King for the explode 2 random gems on 4 or 5. And Frost Mage, if you have that to 70, also get another explosion on a 4 or 5 gem match. And yes, this one's a little mythic heavy. I also tried it with Leprechaun down here and Obsidious. Don't really feel that you need Obsidious. And that's the power of TPK for people that don't have TPK, which is the Possess King. And we'll go ahead and cast Life and Death. And you've got 54, 64. Unfortunately, I'm only doing 53, so I'm not going to get an explosion here, but I've got Leprechaun full, so it's not that big of a deal. And if worse were to come to worse, you could always cast that and hopefully transform them from a goblin. So, let's see. I'm going to look for some green to fill up my Arachnian Weaver. And just like that, everything is dead. Other than time, I didn't have any problems whatsoever with any of those teams. So, if that helped you out, gave you some ideas, wonderful. Throw me a like, and have a great day, everyone.